Recording'i başlattım. Ekranımı da paylaşacağım. Merhabalar herkese. Turkish BIZ Network webinar serisinin 9.suna hoş geldiniz. Bu webinar serimizde Gamze, Cassandra, Evren, Registered Professional Clinical Hypnotherapist, Author and International Speaker, bize Anxiety-Free Interviews, Performance Reviews and Presentations konusunda bir sunum yapacak. Şu anda kayıt işlemlerimiz bitti. Bu sırada Turkish BIZ Network, işte Instagram, Facebook, YouTube ve LinkedIn kanallarımıza üye olmanızı hatırlatabiliriz. Merak ettiğiniz sorular için de e-mail aracılığıyla bizimle haberleşebilirsiniz. Beklediğiniz için teşekkür ederiz. Şimdi burayı İngilizce söyleyeceğim. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the country throughout Australia and recognize their continuing connection to land, waters, and the culture. And we pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging. We also acknowledge that this was, is, and always will be an Aboriginal land. Biz kimiz TBN olarak ve ne amaçlıyoruz toplum için? TBN is an independent and non-profit organization that has been formed to establish a business networking platform to connect Turkish professionals, academics, entrepreneurs, students, and business owners who live in Australia. The group will focus on informing its members on career opportunities, organization of various non-profit or fundraising events, to support both community projects and one another, organization and support of social community projects and sponsorships, knowledge sharing sessions where members will meet and determine how to best assist the Turkish Australian community, and to support and create equal opportunity for Turkish Australian professionals so that they can build better and faster future in their new homeland. 2022-2023 projelerimizden birincisi Avustralya'ya hoş geldin rehberi yapmak. Bu rehberde yeni gelenler için hap şeklinde bilgiler verebileceğimiz bir aslında rehber oluşturmayı amaçlıyoruz. İkincisi İTÜ Otonom Tekne takımına destek verdik ve 11.000 dolar üzerinde fundraising yaptık. Ve Avustralya Sydney'de yapılan Robotex denizcilik yarışmasına Avrupa'dan katılmaya hak kazanan ilk ve tek takım olan İTÜ Esteem Otonom Tekne takımını bu şekilde desteklemiş olduk ve onlar da çok güzel bir başarıyla gittiler. Design ödülü aldılar. Kariyer koçluğu yapıyoruz üçüncü olarak. Webinar serimiz var ve kurumsal bir desteğimiz de olacak. Bu da yakında bunu da launch edeceğiz. Şimdi webinar kurallarından da bahsetmek istiyorum kısaca. Tüm katılımcılar sessizde. Sunum kalitesini engellememesi için de videolarımızı da kapalı tutmanızı rica ediyoruz. Sunumla alakalı herhangi bir sorunuz olursa chat üzerinden Everyone opsiyonunu lütfen seçerek sorularınızı oradan bize iletebilirsiniz. Sunum sırasında da soru yanıt kısmında sorularınız sunucularımız tarafından zamanımız el verdiği ölçüde yanıtlanacak tabii. Kişiye özel detaylı durumları ve soruları belki yanıtlandıramayabiliriz. Şimdiden onu belirtmek istiyoruz. Soru ve yanıtlar sonrasında da çok kısa bir geri bildirim isteğimiz olacak. Bir sonraki webinarımızın içeriğini belirlemek ve hangi detaylarda, konularda seminer yapacağımıza karar vermek için bu geri bildirim bizim için gerçekten çok önemli. Sizden orada 1 dakikanızı rica edeceğiz. Bir diğeri de sunumumuz kaydedilmektedir. TBN kanallarımızdan linki paylaşılacak. There's no conflict of interest between the presenter and the TBN Board of Directors. Bir de bu webinar tıbbi tavsiye niteliğinde değildir. Eğitim amaçlı düzenlenmiştir. Diyerek ben sözü Gamze'ye veriyorum. Over to you.
Teşekkürler. Ben paylaşabilir miyim ekranımı?
Tabii lütfen.
Okay. Herkes görebiliyor sanırım. Though I'm speaking Turkish, this will be in English, but if there's any area that you don't understand or you have question of, you can obviously ask, and I can speak in Turkish then. So today we're here together for 3 key strategies for anxiety-free interviews, performance reviews, and presentations. So my goal for today is I'd like to share with you some really insider tools. This is like from the therapist point of view, not many people know about, on how to let go any fear, any anxious thoughts, and really gain control of how you're acting, how you're feeling, of your complete emotions, with these 3 key strategies, which are completely easy, very simple, and very effective. So I'm just starting to the presentation. In the next 45 minutes, I will be showing you how to interrupt the fear and anxiety loop, how to anchor the anxiety-free mode, and also how to reprogram your subconscious mind prior to the big event. So 3 things. And I'd like to start with just introducing myself. Serdar kindly did it. So Gamze, Cassandra, Evren. And I'm a registered professional clinical hypnotherapist. I'm a professional wellness coach. I do family constellations. I'm a master practitioner, neurotrans psychotherapist, metadynamics practitioner, and stress management consultant. And okay. Right. Hatha Yoga Acharya, author, and also international speaker. So a lot of stuff. So what I'm going to share with you within these 3 key strategies, I'm actually combining all of I'm knowing all of my experience and making it completely easy and effective for you so that you can apply it for yourself. And we'll go step by step. So I will be actually giving you the introduction about how things are happening, why they are happening, and then also we'll be helping you to actually do a hands-on practical approach. All right, so now, first things first, the important stuff, understanding the dynamics of fear and anxiety, because there's a distinct difference between them. So fear versus anxiety. In fear, there is real danger. And fear is a very healthy emotion. We don't want to get rid of it because it actually helps us being alive, helps us survival. It mobilizes us for an immediate defensive response, which is very healthy. And there is control in fear. We can actually choose how we're responding. And after we actually respond to the fear, it goes back to normal. Whereas in anxiety, there is imagined, not real, imagined cause. There's this anticipation. It's excessive and it's very persistent. It's basically fear and worry, but when all these things come together, it becomes anxiety. And it's triggered by our stuck emotions. It creates anxiety. It pushes us down and there is no control. When anxiety comes over, we cannot control. We don't have any say. It just takes us over and just like a river, carries us to somewhere that we're not aware of. And it stays on. It doesn't go back. So to give you an example, normally when we're experiencing fear, the body goes into the survival mode, the sympathetic nervous system gets activated, and whatever the cause of the fear is, we deal with it. And as soon as we deal with it, it goes back to normal. So the system doesn't stay on the sympathetic nervous system, which is fight, flight, freeze response. It goes back to normal. But in anxiety, it doesn't go back to normal. It stays there. It's like the button is on all the time, and we constantly look for, oh my God, what's going to happen? And we don't do it consciously, we do it subconsciously. So it causes a lot of problems. And if you look at the pathways of anxiety, this is very important. There are two different pathways. The first one is the cortex pathway, the thinking man from Rodin. Really good symbolizes that, because with the cortex pathway, it is the thinking brain. So it actually works like a detective mode. And within the detective mode, whatever we do, whenever there is a problem presenting itself, the cortex takes it over, it looks at stuff. Is it really a big deal? How I can respond? What would be the best way to respond? So it calibrates, it measures where the fear sits in, where the threat sits in, and it also calibrates what's the best response to that. So it's very much like in control. Whereas on the other one, amygdala, it's the complete taking over, and it's very emotional. It doesn't let you think. Amygdala bypasses everything. It's the overruler of the whole thing. So the brain consciously and willingly gives access to amygdala, and amygdala takes over and it does its thing. It creates this huge response of fight, flight, freeze. And the mind cannot do otherwise. There is no arguing, there's nothing, no logic whatsoever. It is the amygdala, it's the ruler. And if you look at it, what happens here is, yes, the boss, just in relation to the interviews at the workplace, the reviews and presentations and everything. Let's say the problem is there. When we actually sense the threat, all this sensory information comes down to thalamus, to an area of the brain. From thalamus, what happens is very interesting. So some of the information goes directly to cortex, and from cortex, the thinking brain, it starts doing the detective work. So it's like, what's happening here? Let's have a look at it. And then whatever it goes through the filter of the cortex, the information then passes on to amygdala to receive a response. So it's the amygdala always giving the response, not cortex. And also the second pathway, which is the most important pathway, which was quite recently not well known. So it wasn't taken into account when psychologists, psychiatrists were doing the anxiety treatments. It wasn't addressed. The amygdala has the direct route from thalamus. So from thalamus, wherever the threat represents itself and receive the sensory info into thalamus, it goes directly into amygdala. And amygdala is like, okay, I'm taking over because we have to survive and there is no other way. This is a very ancient system. It's actually same as all the other mammalians from ancient times, from prehistoric times almost. And what happens is this whole thing is based on to survive. So it's very good for us. We are here because our ancestors developed this system, and because they didn't actually think when the threat was there, like a dinosaur or a saber-toothed tiger, that whenever the threat was there, they knew that they could be there could be a predator outside and they can be easily prey to them. Not thinking was actually giving them the option to survive. So it's like constantly checking the surroundings. Is there any threats? Doing something, but at the same time being aware of everywhere. So it's like constant detecting the area, scanning the area to see if there's something happening or not. And because of that, we're still here. So we're very grateful for that. But we're not in an environment like it used to be before, and our system is still working the same way. So most of the time, it's not working to our advantage, because outside, thanks God, we're not in US or in another country which the crime rates are really high up. And when we're outside, we're not necessarily waiting for any threats, right? We're just minding our own business, doing our, going on with our daily life. When we're at work, we know most of the time, what's expected from us, what we're going to do. If we're going to have an anxiety, if we're going to have an interview, we know when it's going to be happening. It's not like in the last minute, or the performance review or the presentation. So everything is set, but still thinking about it gives us the anxiety, because this is the amygdala root. So what happens here is, although there are no saber-toothed tigers or dinosaurs or any other people who may come after us, the brain, because it's geared towards constant scanning and detecting any threats, it actually collects the information and thinks, oh, this could be this could be that. And some tiny things can become really problematic. And this is amygdala's doing, because it's taking over. And as soon as it takes over, it creates this, it activates this sympathetic nervous system and creates fight, flight, freeze response, which doesn't help much. When we're about to go into an interview, it's like, we get like, oh my God, and then it affects everything. So we're going to look at how to actually rewire our brain, how to reverse this whole process. So instead of the anxiety response, how we can manage it, and instead of this, how we can actually create the sympathetic, the parasympathetic nervous system, activate that one instead. Because parasympathetic nervous system is like rest, digest, release. It's the good one. And that's what we want to be. We want to be in control. And these are the two pathways for anxiety. So amygdala is actually the protector. It does really good things for us. It's just a matter of knowing what amygdala is doing. And most of the time, when I receive my anxiety clients, they're like, my body is responding in such a way, I don't know what's happening. I don't have any control. I'm really scared being inside my body. When we know exactly what anxiety is doing, it's actually protecting us from any threats, which may not really be seen as threats, but it's a system which was developed in ancient times, and we're still having this. So we go around with this system, and once we know what's happening, it's like, oh, so my body is actually trying to protect me. This is something good. When we know it, it's like a small child, just like holding the skirts or the pants, like, hey, look at me, we're in danger. And we go like, okay, I see you. We're not in danger. I'm taking the lead, instead of, oh, go berserk, right? So this is pathways of anxiety. And what we're going to do today is I will be teaching you, sharing with you 3 key strategies. The first one will be for interrupt. The second one will be for anchoring. The third one will be for reprogramming. And all of those combined together will be helping you. It helps each and every one of us for taking over the control of our emotional state. So it actually helps us how we can stay in tune, how we can stay in control, and how we can better present ourselves. And this would help with all the interviews, reviews, and the presentations. So when we look at the first one, interrupt, this is all about breaking the loop. And when we talk about breaking the loop, there are 2 approaches. The first one is instant first aid, exactly what this is. So it helps us create an instant action. And the second one is sort of a built-up action. It's a little bit longer time. Then again, it may become a habit, and it paves the way to smooth, easy conversations during the interviews, during the reviews, and when we're presenting. So both are very important. And if you look at the instant action first, the first aid one, it is what we call the pattern interrupt technique. So the therapists use a lot of pattern interrupt techniques. It's very valuable because of the instant action. And I will be giving you 2 examples for that one. So the first one, let me see. Okay. Well, the first one, there are 2 techniques that I can share with you. If we're on Zoom, because of after COVID, we do many things on Zoom, just as today, just now, and also in person. So when we're in Zoom, we have the advantage. The other person don't see us completely. It's not like being in person. So what we can do is, let's say you're having these anxious thoughts and you cannot really control. As we're sitting, you can just look directly ahead to the camera. And as you're looking at camera, you're shaking because you're anxious, right? What you can do is focusing completely on the camera, not on the picture, but on the camera, on the little circle. And as you're focusing on the little circle, give your complete focus onto it and then expand the focus. So it's like expanding the focus first to the sides of your laptop or your desktop computer. And looking at one point, but really expanding your area of focus to the sides of your computer. And then expanding it to the sides of yourself, like next to your ears, fully being aware you're looking at one spot, but you are expanding your awareness, your focus area, and then expanding it completely. So what's in front of you, the room, the walls next to you, and then expanding even back. So you're looking at one spot, but at the same time, you're becoming aware, and where you're aware, the limits are expanding. So at the end, it's like you're sitting in a room and you're focusing on where you're sitting in relation to the room. You are at the center, in the corner, whatever. And as you're staying focused on one spot, you are becoming aware of everything around you, whatever is happening around you. So because of that, the mind cannot handle that much awareness. So it goes like, let's go of the anxiety at that moment. It works all the time. So you can practice that one. Expanding your focus of awareness slowly to the edges of the computer, your laptop, and then edges of your ears, and then expanding it to the walls, and then to the whole room. It's also like the ceiling, the floor, and everything. And this can also include where you're sitting, your seat, the seat touching you touching the seat. And when you give your awareness to everywhere surrounding you and staying on one, just one point, fully focused, it helps you. So this is the instant action. The built-up action, okay, I will give you one more. So this is when you are actually in person. So when you're in person and you're looking, you can still do the same thing, expanding, and there are other ways to do it. This actually works really good just before you enter into the room. Because usually this is like the most tense time, right? And you want to enter into the room quite relaxed. You don't want to be shaking, completely red and like, oh my God, I'm losing my mind. So what you can do is, as you're about to enter into the room, you can do this one. The eyes are the extensions of our brain, and the eyes are the only internal organs, actually. It's not an external organ. So the position of the eyes changes how the brain perceives stuff and how the brain handles the input. So how we do that, this is again very simple. Actually, it can be very silly. That's why before entering into the room, and once you're into the room, you can do the just what I said, the other example. So before entering into the room, you can do just with your eyes, very quick, blink, blink, blink, 3 times. Blink, blink, blink. And then as if there is an imaginary circle, complete round circle as wide as possible, without moving your head, just with your eyes, you can just go around the circle without skipping any point at all, completely without moving your head, then to the other side, counterclockwise. And then you can go blink, blink, blink again 3 times and take a deep breath. And then just smile and stand up. As soon as you do that, the negative thoughts cannot stay in your mind because you literally, physically moved your eyes, you blinked, you moved your eyes, and you did the other way around, you blinked again, you took a deep breath, And as soon as you smile, the brain receives the signal that, oh, everything's going fine. So we're on track. It's okay. Everything's under control. And as soon as everything's under control, all these stress hormones leaves the body, and instead the feel-good hormones take place. And that's what we want, because when this happens, it means the parasympathetic system is at work, and it works to our benefit. Not the sympathetic one, not very sympathetic. So that's the build-up action. All right. Sorry, that was the first one, the instant action. The built-up action, it takes a little bit longer time. It's not instant, but it is very important because it works very deeply, and it works with the conscious mind. So these techniques, the conscious mind technique, actually addresses the cortex pathway. We actually change how we think about stuff, how we perceive stuff. We change the meaning, because as human beings, we are all meaning-making machines. And the meaning that we put on to some event or to some threat actually changes the course of how we do things. So this one is quite interesting. It's again very simple, and it's again very effective. It actually brings the awareness back to you, gives the control back to you, and you can actually see the pattern underlying in how you view things. This is also very good for changing habits and becoming aware of them, then changing habits. So it's called switch bracelet technique. You don't need a bracelet for that, but if you're having one, makes it easy. If you don't have one, it's just like you have an imaginary visual, bracelet, and then as soon as you find yourself, you're having these negative thoughts, fears, anxious thoughts, whatever, that's not working, that's not serving to you, you are taking it from one hand, and as soon as you're putting on the other hand, you can do this in your mind's eye too, or you can do it physically. As soon as you're putting on the other hand, you're going to reframe it. And the way you're going to do the reframing is, it has to be realistic. It's not like, let's say, oh my God, this anxiety is killing me, or I'm going to suck. This is going to be terrible. You find yourself saying yourself to that. What you're doing is actually you're giving your GPS a coordinate to suck. And that's what happened at the end. You don't want that to happen. It is your worry. You don't want your worry to rule you, right? Otherwise, amygdala will take over, and it's going to take you. You're going to survive, but at cost of what? You don't want this cost. So instead, with this switch bracelet technique, you can just change it to, let's say it was, what do we say? We're going to suck, right? And I worked on it, and it may be really good. It may be good. And if you find yourself saying something else again, you can then change it back, switch to the other side. So every time you find yourself thinking or saying yourself something negative, or saying to somebody else something negative, which is not working to you, for you, to your benefit, any fear, any anxiety based thoughts or feeling, you can just change it. And as you're changing it, make it realistic, make it something like, and I'm working on it. And I have some tools about it. And who knows, it can be really good. The real stuff, right? So it's not like instant going, oh no, it's going to be fantastic, because the brain is not going to believe in that, because you're in fear, worry state, right? So it's not like it's going to be fantastic. It's just like, and I'm working on it. And it can be, there is an option that it can be good. And I'm working on to make it really good. And I'm using this technique to make it work. Things like that. So this switch bracelet technique just clears the underlying pattern, which is very important. And that's something that we can do for ourselves. It will be very interesting. Most of my clients, when the ones that I give this homework to them, I actually ask them to write them down, whatever the repetitive ones, whatever is coming up. And when we look at it, it's actually all limiting beliefs. And limiting beliefs are quite powerful, because our beliefs are like our sails. Wherever we want to go, these are the ones who are going to sabotage us or going to make us go really faster. And just by sitting there, it's hard to identify the limiting beliefs, but by doing this exercise, it's very obvious that when you look at it, it's like, now I can work on that one. So this is a very valuable exercise to break, to look, to interrupt. Now, when we move on to anchor, this is fascinating. This is all about changing your mode, your mood. And I'd like to talk about breath here. So a breathing rate of more than 27 breaths per minute is the primary predictor of heart attack in patients in hospital wards. There's a research in Medical Journal of Australia. That's very interesting. Now, keep in mind the 27 breaths per minute, okay? And 21% of ward patients whose breathing rate is between 25 and 29 breaths per minute can't leave the hospital alive. Okay, what do we do with this? Have a look at the numbers, 25, 29, okay? And again, this is from a research. And what's with the bottle? We're talking about changing your mode. Now, I'm gonna link it for you. Make it really obvious. When we do the shallow breath, meaning the chest breath, it's like, the breath is not enough. It puts us instantly into anxiety mode, into fearful mode, and we lose control completely. How we breathe is very important on how we feel. It actually affects the whole physiology. So when we do the shallow breathing, that's it. That's the small bottle, the smallest bottle that you can see. It's equivalent of 250 milliliters. That much of oxygen we have in, and that much of carbon dioxide we can get rid of. And that's it. It's very tiny, right? And equivalent is 25 breaths per minute. So if you reverse back a little bit, rewind back a little bit, it was between 25 to 29 per minute, breath per minute. That's 21% of the patients were not able to leave the hospital alive. So shallow breathing is not serving us. Yet, when we need the breath or a deep breath, most of the people not knowing exactly how to breathe, it's like, and it's constantly what's moving is the chest. When we breathe from here, it doesn't help us because of the rib cage, it's constrictive. This is the least amount of oxygen we can receive and least amount of carbon dioxide we can actually release if we're breathing from here. It doesn't serve us. So what can we do instead? How about 2 bottles instead of 1? Sounds good, right? So with the 2 bottles, it is normal breathing. Not big deal, just normal breathing. So it's like when we're resting, when we're just going out and about, minding our own business, that's the normal breath. And that gives us 500 milliliters of oxygen intake and carbon dioxide release. Good, right? Because it instantly drops down to 12 breaths per minute. Much better, right? Nothing to do with the hospital. It works as fine. How about gaining the full control, using everything to our advantage? How many do you think we should be having? How many bottles? Or how many breaths per minute? Take a guess. So for this one, it's that much. How can we achieve it? What sort of breath is it? It's the slow, deep breathing. It's 2 to 3 breaths per minute. Wow, comparing to 25, 2 to 3 breaths per minute. And that gives us 5,000 milliliter worth of oxygen and releasing that much of carbon dioxide. That's perfect for us. So slow, deep breathing is really good for us to gain control. So what happens with the shallow breathing is that, it's very obvious, but lack of oxygen, right? Because we're not receiving enough. And this lack of oxygen results us losing our mental balance because we're not in control. It's like we're not getting enough. Our cells are not getting enough. How can we be in control? It's the panic mode, right? even if you're not in panic, if you keep on breathing shallowly, you will be panicking. You will be fearing, and you will find yourself in an attack. So it leads us to lack of concentration, lack of focus, and we completely lose control of our emotions because the body is like, and we have to breathe. Shallow breathing doesn't help us because it increases our heart rate and it leads to increase in the stress hormone cortisol. We don't want that when we're having the interview, presentation, or the review, right? We want to be at our best self. The reduced oxygen also impairs our thinking abilities, and it leads, if it constantly keeps happening, if this is the habit, many people, some people, not many people, but not that less of the people actually go through that constantly, and they find themselves in the hospital, just as in the researches, because it leads to chronic stress, anxiety, and panic attacks. That's the invitation, direct invitation to the panic attack. It reduces our physical ability. It creates poor posture. It's like, because it's a survival mode. How can we be sure of ourselves? There's no way. And it leads to injuries. So what do we do instead is the slow, deep breathing. And with the slow, deep breathing, it's awesome because it calms the mind, because we are constantly receiving enough oxygen. The whole body, each and every cell in our body is like, right, everything's going fine, we're cool. And it enhances our focus because everything is going fine. We have enhanced focus. And because of that, our energy levels also expands. It's being recharged constantly because we're getting rid of what we don't want and we're getting exactly what we need. That's oxygen for our body. And the decreased heart rate because of this slow, deep breathing, remember, 2 to 3 breaths per minute. It leads to increase in happy hormones and sleep hormone. That means if we're in that mode prior to the interviews, reviews, or presentation the night before, we're having a good night's sleep and we're waking up, we're still slow, deep breathing. We have more serotonin running in our system and we're feeling like, good, this interview is going to go very good. We're going to rock it. This gives us the confidence. It's very much in tune with how we breathe. And it also increases our positivity and resilience. So regardless of how the interview has gone, we feel like, right, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep doing the interviews. So this is very important for us. How we breathe changes everything. And when we look at all the bottles, and 2 to 3 breaths per minute, the less is definitely more. So here, I'd like to actually show you how to breathe. And for that one, I will be stop sharing. And let me see. And I would love to show you exactly how we do the slow, deep breathing. And in comparison to the other ones, the shallow breath, the normal breath, and the slow, deep breathing. And for this, I know they have, let me see, I'd like to be in the gallery view. Sardar Bey, would it be possible to have their videos online? And if you don't want if you don't want to be seen, you can still remain there unseen. But this is just, if I can see you, I can actually help you help you to where you're breathing. Is it correct? Is it not? I can help you correct it.
Sure.
Thank you.
I'll allow them to start video now. They are able to start the videos. I'm going to start my video as well.
So then we can continue. Hi.
Yes.
Okay, if you want to be corrected, if you want to really hit it right, how to breathe properly, slow, deep breathing from the right place, it would be really good if you can turn on your video. Otherwise, that's fine. And I can just show it on Melik. All right. Okay. So that's your choice. That's all good. Okay. So what we do here is, let's think as we're dividing the whole lungs, it's like a pear shaped, into 3 lines. So we're crossing 2 lines. So it's like 1, 2, and the third part. The top part is the chest, the upper chest. The middle part equals to normal breath. And the lowest part, when we combine all of them, the lowest part itself produces us a deep breathing. But when we combine all of it, we actually get the slow deep breathing completely, and it changes the whole picture. So when we combine all 3, we can actually achieve this 5,000 milliliters, 5 liters of breath instead of just really small 250 milliliters one. So for that, the way we breathe, let's say the first one is cut off from here, and I'm just going to tilt it a little bit back. And the second line is here. So the third line, there is this rib cage, and the end of the rib cage is called sternum. After the sternum, there, just above your navel, the belly button, this is the most important part, okay? So we're gonna call this the third part. This is the second part, the chest, and the first part, the upper chest. So when we're panicking, when we're having anxiety attack, when we're having fearful thoughts, when we're really thinking negative stuff, we cannot stay here. We cannot stay here. It always goes up. So we start breathing shallowly. Let's try breathing from here only. And the only place we'll be moving, you can put your hand there, and you can put your hand on your chest, the upper chest and the middle chest. Yeah. So the only part we'll be moving is going to be the top one, okay? For the first part, for the shallow breath. Let's really try hard to breathe a lot from here, get a lot of oxygen. Doesn't really move much, right? Because it's constrictive of this beautiful shape of our all these bones. We cannot breathe because there is not much space. There's a tiny bit of space. And what we want to do now is go back to the normal breath where we usually do, right? So it's here. Let's now try moving only this part. This part is not going to move. So it's a little bit more movement happening here. And if I show you from this way, so this is the top part, this is the second part. If I breathe from here, you can't really see, it's really hard. If I breathe from here, it moves a little bit more, and that's where it normally function. But if we breathe from this area, at the end of the sternum, in between the belly button and the sternum, that part, that's where our diaphragm sits. This is the abdomen, and it's the best place to breathe. So when we breathe from here, there will be no movement here and no movement here, just here, okay? So let's just put your hand like this and see how we breathe. There is more movement, right? So this gives us much more oxygen, and it helps us releasing much more carbon dioxide, which is really good. Again, this doesn't give us the whole 5,000 milliliters. To achieve that, the most important thing is actually to combine all 3. So we actually expand and we use our maximum. When we use our maximum, it's not like we are actually getting pressured or tensed. Otherwise, it gives us full control because the whole body is going to receive all the benefits we just talked about. So the key here is, first, we start breathing from here, all right, between the sternum and the belly button, the lowest part. We start breathing from here, and we breathe very slowly, and we breathe fully. And the key is first to exhale completely. When we exhale completely and slowly, then we start inhaling. As soon as we start inhaling, holding it as small, as slow as possible. So it's almost like breathing through a needle. there's a lot of air around us. We're not starting off any air. We're not in a hurry. So it's like we're breathing, but we are making it not like, because when we do that, we actually bypass here, we go here. It doesn't help. We don't want to bypass anywhere. We want to actually breathe from each of three parts. So breathing from here, and then we will move on to here, then we will move on to here. Obviously, the most breath will be from here, not so much from here, very less from here. But when we combine all three, then we will be achieving the slow, deep breathing effects. So it's like a wave, and I'd like you to put your hand again right at this area, and the second hand just like really spreading your fingers on your mid-chest and the upper chest. And then it's again like a wave. Start breathing from here. Keep the breath here, and then start breathing from your mid-chest. Keep the breath in two areas completely full. Keep on breathing. Now the chest, even the shoulder is going to move. And then exhale only from the lowest part completely, not from the second, not from the upper part. And then from the mid part, then from the top part. So when we inhale or exhale from the top part, even the shoulders move. When we breathe or exhale from the middle part, only this part moves up and down. And this part is like huge movement because it's free. There is no rib cage here, right? Because there is no rib cage, because the abdomen sits here, it's very easy to have large amounts of oxygen and get rid of large amount of carbon dioxide. So when we combine all three of them together, it looks like this. Also pay attention to my shoulders when I breathe from the top. I will be showing you with my hands. First, exhaling completely. When we do this, all three of them together, starting from the bottom one, moving up to the top one, and then exhaling again in the same order, exhaling from the first one, then the second one, then the third one, we achieve 5 liters of oxygen. And this is incredible amount of oxygen. And when we do that, you don't have to do it like an hour. You can do it only for 5 minutes. 5 minutes makes wonders of how you actually feeling. It changes our emotional state completely. It gives us the confidence, and it helps us to stay completely focused on whatever we're doing, completely in control, and also with the happy hormones. So it's like absolute gold. If anyone wants to be corrected, I'd love to see. If anyone's feeling that, I'm not sure if I'm doing it right, I'd like to check the hand positions. So if you like, you can just either write in chat. I think there's something in chat. Okay. Or you can just come on, put your video on, and I can see. And if there are no problems, we can move on. Cool. I think everybody got it. Okay, awesome. So the breath is really important. How we breathe. Hey, you have a question? Okay, cool. So how we breathe changes our whole physiology, and we want to be in complete control of how we do things. So it's very crucial to being completely anxiety-free. All right. So I'll keep on sharing my screen, and we'll move on. Let's see. Okay. Right. So when we do the correct breathing, we can also anchor it. So now we know that shallow breath, the chest breath, versus abdominal breath, versus deep breath changes everything. And And we can actually anchor that. So I'm not seeing you now, but you didn't put your videos on or you didn't ask any questions, so should be all right, I'm thinking. If not, let me know, either by chat or coming, putting your video on. Let's do this breath and let's anchor the feeling. Because when we anchor the feeling, we can actually go for the same feeling. The anchoring actually leads us to this breath, and the breath leads us to the anchoring. So both ways makes us more in control, much more simple, much more easier. So let's do the breathing. So 3 parts: the top part, the second part, the third part. We're going to start from the third part, the bottom part. Then first we're going to exhale completely, and then we're going to start inhaling. You can do it now. Inhale from your navel. And keeping the air there, inhale from your mid-chest. And keeping the air in both places, now inhale from your top part, the upper chest, even your shoulders will move up, inhaling all the way up to here, throat and nose area. And now exhale from the lowest part, very slowly and fully, completely, until there's no air left in the lowest part. Then keeping here completely empty, not breathing from here again, exhale from the middle section, the mid-chest, completely. When there is no air left on the mid-chest or the bottom one, the abdomen, move on to the upper part, the upper chest, and exhale from the upper chest completely. And then inhale from the lowest part, the abdomen. And then move up, inhale from the mid-chest, inhale from the upper chest, exhale from your abdomen, exhale from your mid-chest completely, and exhale from your upper chest completely. And keep on breathing. All 3 parts, the lowest part first, the mid part second, the top part third. And at the same order, exhaling. So keep doing it. There's a lot of air around us. We're not in a hurry. When we do it slowly, it actually allows us to receive more oxygen. And when we're exhaling slowly, very crucial, it helps us releasing all the carbon dioxide, which was once we breathe it, sits on the small air sacs of alveoli on each side of our lungs. They literally don't have any oxygen. They can get really stuck together and get dried. We don't want that to happen. We want to be able to use them, all the little air sacs, the alveoli also. So keep on breathing. And as you're breathing, you can close your eyes and just notice how you're feeling, how your body is feeling. Have a look at your posture. Standing up tall really helps. And when we say standing up tall, maybe you heard the analogy. It's like you are a pearl necklace. And from the top part, from the top of your head, somebody is holding you up. So it's like all the pearls align on top of each other. So that's your spine and the top of the head. And then keep breathing from all these 3 parts. And as you keep breathing from there, really see how you feel. Whole body is like, right. And because body is not used to it, if you're not used to this type of breathing, it's more like, oh, I think I'm going to sleep, because the body only gets that much rest, just about to go to sleep. So you may start yawning. That's okay. It doesn't actually make you sleepy or drowsy. It's more like, it's like sprinkling, like you go to the top of the mountain and you're like, wow, feels really good. And this feel-good feeling, we're going to anchor it now. As you keep breathing, you can still have your eyes closed. If not, you can close it now. I'd like you to just hold on to your elbow, any side, doesn't matter. just hold on to your elbow and keep breathing and really focus on the emotion. And the emotion is rest. Emotion is at peace. It's a happy feeling. It's a feeling that, all right, I'm doing really good. I'm feeling my body and I'm doing good. It's okay. And this okay feeling is slowly changing into a pleasant feeling. And this pleasant feeling is getting anchored. As you're doing the practice and holding your elbow, it's anchored into your elbow now. And if you keep doing this anytime when it comes to your mind, and when you find first yourself in that mode through the breath, and then you put your elbow there, you actually increase the effectiveness of the anchor. And then you can let go of your elbow, keep on breathing. The body is feeling completely relaxed now. When you're relaxed, when you're breathing, using all your three parts of your lungs, which is the slow, deep breath, no fear or no anxious thoughts can stay in your mind. There is no way. So next time, when you want to find yourself in a complete control mode, you can touch your elbow to recreate the same feeling, emotional state, and also it helps doing the breath. Or you can start with breath and you can do the anchoring. So if there is no time for doing the both, you can do one and you can find yourself instantly. The breath changes everything, and we want to be able to control our breath. This is the calm state, and through practice and anchoring, we can create a really deeper calm state. When you calm, you are in complete control over your emotions, of how you speak, of how you talk, of how you look. Whatever the message you want to present to the other side, this is the trick. All the actors, artists, the singers, all of them, they know about how to breathe. All the athletes, they know how to breathe. They know how to control their mood because they cannot afford otherwise. And now you know it and you can do it because the breath is always with you. You can always practice this. All right. So you can open your eyes. We're going to move on to the third one. The reprogramming. So this works in a different way, and this addresses directly the amygdala pathway, because the amygdala pathway is all about our emotions and the meanings we attach to them. So here we can choose our own movie, or better still, we can be the director of our own movie. We can decide what to direct, what to shoot, right? How do we do that? So looking at all these three men, what's the commonality in between them? Michael Jordan, Jim Carrey, Muhammad Ali, there are many others. All these three, what do you think? What happens here is they all use the power of visualization with success. Actually, world-class athletes, the elite athletes program have the visualization within their training because they now know, after all the researches, how effective it is. When you are doing exactly what you're doing, what you need to do, doing the competition or doing the acting or in your life, doing interviews, reviews, presentation, anything that you're doing in your life and aiming for the success, you know what to do, right? You know the tools, you have to prepare. You have to prepare what you're going to talk about. You have to prepare yourself, how you look. You have to prepare your mood and everything. And we have ideas about that. And it works for us. And yet again, all these three and many others along all the elite athletes, they know much more than that, because what they do, what's been found through the researchers is that even if you're not exactly doing what you're supposed to do to achieve the success or to win the competition, whatever, when you rehearse it in your own mind, and when I'm saying rehearse it, going through each and every step, focusing on how you feel within your body and within your mind, how you feel, it produces exact same results. Interesting. It doesn't mean that you have to bypass all the real preparation. Obviously, you do that too. But then again, you cannot always be constantly on action, right? And the times you're resting, you can just visualize it, and it works just the same, and it enhances the effect. That's why it's a built-in program in all the elite athletes trainings. So they are actually choosing, they are becoming the director of their own lives. Because when we change our inner environment, how we perceive things internally, when we close our eyes and when we take our all five senses inwards and we play the movie in our minds, we can then change the outcome in the physical world. Many researchers say that. And there is a way of doing that, and it's called the frame technique for altering perception. So there are two frames, right? And we're going to do it together if you're ready. So I'd like you to first decide on what you want to achieve. It can be a dream goal. It can be an interview that you're going to do. It can be a review that will be done, a performance review. It can be a presentation that you're going to do. It can be anything really, but something that you are fearful, that you're anxious about, that when you think it's like, oh, when you're in that state, it's not going to help. What we're going to do now, it's going to reprogram the outcome, which works. So now, if you picked, I think you picked a subject, I'd like you to all close your eyes, please. You may choose to watch it, but there is nothing to be seen. I will just be talking. We will be on the same page. So if you close your eyes and you can practice this, you will have the first-hand experience. All right? So first, I'd like you to close your eyes, and I'd like you to just focus right in front of your forehead. Behind your closed eyelids, you're focusing a little bit up and straight to the front. Okay, so it's a little bit up, straight to the front. You're looking there. And I'd like you to see over there a huge, maybe you're not able to see, but you can feel the presence. That's still fine, okay? That a huge frame. It can be like a mirror frame, or it can be like a giant movie screen. That's fine too. But the focus area is at the top of our head. It's almost like above our third eye center, a little bit up towards forehead. Focusing there, whether it's a giant screen, movie screen, TV screen, or a frame, a mirror frame, I'd like you to put a frame there, and I'd like you to make this frame white. Once the whole frame is white, now I'd like you to, I will close my eyes, and as I'm talking to you, I will be doing the same thing. Once you have the white frame screen over there, I'd like you to project your current reality, that you're having fears or anxious thoughts of all these, oh my God, stuff, right? As in real life. So you're projecting yourself there, having the problem. This is a very important step because we need to acknowledge what's happening. We cannot directly move to where we want to go. There is a huge gap. So we need to fill the gap. Looking at this frame, I'd like you to completely focus on, observe how you're feeling. And on this movie screen, as if you're watching the movie screen, you're not there, okay? You're watching it, you're observing it, what's happening to you in the movie screen. With all the issue is there, with all the five senses, like, oh, you don't want to be there. When you get in touch with this feeling, now we're going to change it. I'd like you to, after you completely get in touch with the problem, with the problematic behavior or the thinking or the emotion state, I'd like you to erase the whole screen. You can do it with your hand. Maybe you have a remote control. Maybe there is something else like a button. It erases itself completely. I don't know. It's up to you. Once the screen is completely erased, I'd like you to move the screen this time to the upper left corner. All right? So your head is still where they are. Behind your closed eyelids, you're looking at upper left corner this time. And as you're looking at there, I'd like you to change the frame color to blue. It's not white anymore, it's blue. Again, you can paint it. Maybe there is a button, remote control, whatever. And now the whole frame is blue and it's empty. Now I'd like you to project how you want to feel. You're projecting it there. You're still sitting here. You're not there. You're projecting your desired state onto this blue frame where it is on the left upper hand corner. And I'd like you to really observe. So there is you doing whatever needs to be done with great ease. Look at your posture. Feel how you feel. See how you see. Hear what you hear. Maybe there are some smells around, maybe even some tastes. Maybe you've been drinking some water, or maybe they offered you a coffee or tea. Really get in touch there with how you feel, with all your 5 senses, that everything's going very smooth, according to plan. You're in complete control. You're aware, fully focused of your posture, of your emotions, of how you're talking, of your tone of voice, your hand gestures, the eye contact, and it's happening there. And when it's all happening there, according to how you want it to happen, so take your time there because you really want to make sure that it's happening exactly how you want it to happen, okay? All positive. Then I'd like you to step into the picture as if you're doing it. You are there now, inside the frame, feeling it firsthand. I'd like you to feel how your dress or your suit touches your skin, the feeling in your skin. I'd like you to feel your feet grounded on the floor. I'd like you to feel the seat touching you. And then I'd like you to see what you're seeing. You're either having an interview or a review done, or you're giving the presentation. How are you looking? And how are the others looking? Maybe it's on Zoom, maybe it's in person. See the other person or other people. See their faces, just picture in your mind their faces, that they are listening to you attentively. They're interested. And see how you're feeling yourself in control. Hear what you hear. Your own voice. Perfect. The tone, really good. You're respectful, completely present at the moment. And then focus on the smell. There is this smell in the room, wherever you are. And again, maybe the taste. So activating all your 5 senses, living the moment that you are doing the perfect presentation. You're giving the perfect presentation. You're having the real good performance review or the interview. And see how you feel. That is okay. See, feel the inner smile in you. Because it's going to the plan, according to the plan. And once you get all the 5 senses activated, only after then, I'd like you to step out of the frame into your place. And now the frame is still up there on the left-hand corner. And you're watching it. And now I'd like you to see this blue frame is slowly floating up Just allow it to float up. And it's moving up and out through the sky. It's getting smaller and smaller, moving up. And soon you're going to lose it from your sight completely. Knowing that it's going to keep broadcasting this perfect into your review or presentation or whatever it is that you picked is happening. It's broadcasting to the entire world. And from now on, whenever you want to do this practice, you don't need to go into the white frame anymore. You can go directly to the blue frame. All right. So if you're ready, you can open your eyes now, if you haven't already done so. So from now on, whenever you want to do this practice, you can just recall this blue frame, and wherever it's been broadcasting, it's going to come back to you, and you're going to, again, put it on your upper left corner. I hope I'm giving, it's not the mirror image. So from the upper left corner, and as you're looking from behind your closed eyelids to the upper left corner, you're seeing this blue frame. You're watching exactly what you want it to happen. It's happening there. And once you get it, all the 5 senses there, I'd like you to step into the picture again, experience all the 5 senses, the pleasant emotions. And when it's completely done, when you feel like you find yourself smiling actually, then you can step off. And again, send it and just allow it to float up about the air and go to wherever it needs to go. So that's the practice. All right. I hope you find it valuable. This is a technique that I have been using over 2 decades now, and I've been teaching many people, all ages, from 6 to 89, actually. It always works. It always works, and it gives you instant control and good feeling. So this is very good, activating your parasympathetic nervous system. It's very good, making you feel completely in control. And it's very good to recreate your future, because this is the reprogramming. The anxiety happens when there is no real cause. It's just imagined. It's just anticipated. Instead of this behavior, this habit, we're introducing a new habit. And this is the way how we can change your brain circuitry. So this last part is more than managing. Again, it's managing, but it's way more than managing. It actually allows you to recreate a desired state. And if you keep doing it, not just for one thing, but maybe you have other things in your life that you want to achieve, if you keep practicing this, it's going to give you a full, solid sense of being in control. And because of that, you will be in control. So it's going to reprogram your rewiring, which is going to be beneficial for you, which will be serving for you. So my promise to you was to teach you about how to interrupt the fear and anxiety loop. And we've looked at the pattern interrupt through 3 different techniques. And the second one was how to anchor the anxiety-free mode. So that was with the breath and also breathing, the anchoring through the towards the using the elbow, and also how to reprogram your subconscious mind. And that's exact way of how all the 3 the 2 sportsmen and Jim Carrey did it, and many others do it, and research. It's evidence-based visualization that works for everyone, and it's a great tool. So I hope I did good. That's what I promised, and I trust that's what I delivered to you. Right. So this is the last part, is prior to the big event, and there is no limit on how often you can do it. You can do it as often as you like, and you can use it in anywhere you like. Whenever you have the fear or anxiety or anxious thoughts about, oh my God, what's going to happen? Start reprogramming it, because you can. And when you reprogram it, you can actually reprogram your expectations. And as you're reprogramming your expectations, you change the outcome. And the trick is focusing on the emotions through the 5 senses. All right. So what is the next step? The next step, the first one, is the practice, of course. So now you have some really good free strategies, lots of tools inside. The first one consisting of 3 tools, 3 different techniques. You can practice those. And as much as you practice those, you will find yourself being fully present. And this helps you. The second one is reading about how anxiety works, how we can overcome that. It's very valuable. I've been reading for years, and there's still heaps of books that I want to read, and every time I find something new. And for that one, I have also written a book, not just myself. It's in total 11 professionals. And this is called the Anxiety Relief Handbook. If you're interested, you can have a look. That's the link here. I will be putting in the chat just when I stop sharing. So it actually looks at the anxiety from different angles. I didn't write the hypnotherapy section. My friend did it. So we all did one chapter. And what I did was through systemic family constellations view, which is really important because not all anxiety belongs to us. It depends on what our ancestors, what our family lines actually have been carrying, because it's been proven that the anxiety actually can be passed on to many, many, many generations. Whatever your, let's say, great-great-great-great-great-grandfather had gone through, if it was a trauma that wasn't resolved, it has to be represented through someone from the next generations. And if that person fails of solving this, it gets to be represented through somebody else. So it always goes on generations and generations until someone stands up. It's like, okay, I'm going to stop this. And then we do the family constellations. So what I wrote was through the family constellations angle. And the other next step is obviously getting professional help, because not all anxiety is that we can manage by ourselves. Because when we talk about the amygdala, amygdala is always linked to the emotional memories. Very clever on that one. And all these emotional memories can be coming from our childhood, can be coming from even our womb experiences, which we're not consciously aware of, but it's all about subconscious mind. Conscious is not there. It's all about subconscious mind. And again, a part of it could be coming from transgenerational inherited trauma. So there are different parts. They all need to be addressed if you want a complete solution, if you're having anxiety. So in that case, professional help is needed, and it's twofold: managing anxiety and erasing anxiety. And yes, erasing anxiety is possible. When we look at the emotions, when we look at the past events through regressions, let's say, we can always identify the real cause of the anxiety. So locating the reasons and clearing them from both the cortex pathway and amygdala pathway is really important, because through that, we can actually rewire your brain circuitry for your anxiety free future self. For this, if you'd like to get in touch, I'll be happy to help. I do offer a 2-hour-long deep psychotherapeutic analysis session. It's very detailed. And at the end, you can actually see, I give you like a report, you actually see where it needs to be addressed, where are your problems are stemming from, with what modality it can be handled in a most effective way in the shortest amount of time. So it's very valuable. I actually do my whole system based on this 2-hour-long psychotherapeutic analysis session. And I do have my own ultimate anxiety relief system in place, which is like through 8 weeks, within 8 weeks, you can help yourself through completely first managing and then erasing the whole anxiety. So this is good for professional help if you need it so. These are my contact details if you'd like to know more about that. I mean, we will be doing the question and answer session now, but then again, you can do that. You can have a look at those. For the downloads, I offer some free downloads, like creating your own special place, which is in itself very relaxing. It's free. You can go to that link and download it completely. And then my book, there is the book and there is the ebook version also, that you can have a look at those. So now it's the Q&As, and thank you. I stopped sharing my screen.
Thank you very much, Gamze, Cassandra, Evren. That was a fabulous presentation. Çok teşekkürler.
Have you taken over?
I am taking over now.
Okay, cool. Because I couldn't see. Okay. Cool. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to reply.
Okay, Memduh abi has a question. He's asking, what do you think about 4-7-8 breathing method?
Very good question. So I'm a seasoned Hatha Yoga teacher, and there are many different versions happening around the world. I guess with modern world and also with some marketing strategies, it can be repacked as different versions of breathing. But overall, what I'll say is if you're doing a breathing practice, whatever you're doing, it works. However, if you want to do it the right way, and when I say the right way, it's like the way that it's been described as in scriptures. Let's say like Hatha Yoga Pradipika, it's a very ancient scripture. And saying ancient, all these breathing techniques have been developed from there because it works. It works for everybody. It is safe. So to me, safety is really important. If you want to do the original technique, what I usually suggest is 4-16-8. Then again, you cannot start directly with 4 inhalation, holding for 16 and exhaling for 8, because it can be too much. So what we do is we actually start gradually. There are like different steps prior to that. So what's been going on around, it's like the box breathing. There is also this other breathing. You inhale 4, you hold 4, you exhale 4, you hold 4, and it's like 4-4-4 box breathing. There are many different versions. The thing is they all work. But what works best for the body is the original method. And the original end method is inhaling 4, holding for 16, exhaling 8. Then again, you can practice it by yourself by doing the initial steps, or you can go to a professional. It doesn't take much, but breath is really important. So once you really fully solidify your practice, which doesn't take much really, just like a couple of sessions, then you have a tool for your life. For your whole life, you can breathe as you're supposed to be. And you can achieve all these 20 tiny bottles and 5,000 milliliters of capacity. Does it answer?
I think so. Thanks very much, Gamze. And I think Süleyman Bey has a question as well. He asked if we can unmute. So
thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I think it is very useful a lesson for us. Thanks for sharing this information, and thanks the organizations as well. Just I'm wondering how important the sleep status when you do this kind of exercise, because as far as I know, sleep very important tool for decreasing, I mean, enough sleep, anxiety. What do you think about that particular physiological state?
Yep.
Thank you.
Very good question. Sleep is really important. So again, it's like both of them ends each other. It's complementary. If you're sleeping well, then you can be more in control. You can use your breath even more effectively. If you're using your breath effectively, then you can sleep well, and then you can wake up in control. So it's very complementary. If you're having anxious thoughts, then you can use your breath. If you're having anxious thoughts, then you can use your breath. So it's very complementary. If you're sleeping well, then you can be more in control. You can use your breath effectively. If you're using your breath effectively, then you can sleep well, and then you can wake up in control. So it's very complementary. it's hard to sleep, right? Because it's like constant, when you're in survival mode, that's the last thing that you're going to think about, sleeping. You don't want to sleep. You want to be completely awake because it's like danger, threat happening around. You're constantly scanning. How can you sleep? But if you know that there's no real danger, which is anxiety, which is not fear, that you're not in control, you can actually do these practices that I've just shared with you. And you can do the breathing. When you start breathing, maybe in the beginning, it will not be very smooth, but then again, it's a practice. It becomes a habit very easily. That's why I was suggesting like getting a professional help is really important, because it's like you go for a couple of sessions and you have a practice for a lifetime that you can always be sure that it works, right? So when you get this established, if you're finding yourself in anxiety mode, you can change your breath and it helps. And then once the mode is changed, you can go to sleep. The breath, if you practice this breathing before actually going to sleep, it helps, it enhances the quality of your sleep. So when you wake up, you actually wake up completely refreshed, because when you're breathing this way and in the bed, on the bed, just before you go into sleep, right? Even though there are no anxiety present, just for the sake of practice and for the sake of having a good night's sleep, the whole system relaxes. That's what needs to happen normally just before going to sleep. It's like you want to just like melt on the bed to have a good night's sleep. So breathing really helps with that. And the other methods, if you're experiencing the anxious thoughts at the time, they help too. Does that answer?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.
We have another question from Nurabla. Does our posture make a difference when we deep breathe?
Completely. So the posture, it's not the posture actually. I don't know if you heard about the energy channels or chakras within the body. It's like everybody talks about it, but it's like it becomes chakras again. Well, the energy channels are really important because all these energy centers actually decide how much energy we're receiving. The life energy we receive through our top chakra from the top of the head, and then going from all the way inside our spine, all the way down to the root chakra. So what happens is, if you're having a poor posture, let's say you're just hunching forward or you're tilting to the side, your head to the side, it's not in alignment. When it's in alignment, the energy actually flows more freely. So there is no resistance. When you're having a poor posture, there is resistance. You don't want any resistance, because if there is any blockage, how are you going to receive it? You want to receive what's available to you fully, right? And to be able to do that, that's why the pearl necklace thing. So it's like the whole energy centers are like pearl aligning each other, and you're like holding yourself completely up. Not straight, but elongated spine. With this elongated spine, you can actually do the breathing and it works much better. And you can actually try, just test both of them. And you will see that if you're like this, it's not going to give the right effect. And on the other hand, physically, if you're hunching over or any other posture, which is not a elongated spine posture, you are constricting your diaphragm. So there is not much space left. But when you're elongating your spine, then there is enough space. You want to use what's available to you fully. So the trick is having the correct posture. So that helps. Does it make sense?
Yes, I think. And another question is, can breathing techniques help mental health, e.g. personality disorders?
Can you repeat again? Mental health and?
Like personality disorders.
Good question. So breathing techniques help all human beings, because breath is how we're actually receiving the energy, right? and how our physiology changes is directly in relation to our breath. So that's very important. Personality disorders, you cannot heal through breath, but breathing correctly helps that. So with the personality disorders, it's important to get professional help, because there is so much that we can do for ourselves, and yet there are some areas that needs to be looked at with the help of others. So not directly, but it still helps. It helps to all living beings. Does it answer your question?
I think so. Sabahat Hanım asked that question. And Aydın Bey asked, once you know you're in a high anxiety state, it's okay, you can try these techniques, but what if you're not aware of the fact that you've hit the high anxiety state?
Right. Good question again. So when you're in a high anxiety state, it means you're like, life is like on hold, and you're trying to hang on for your dear life, right? It's not a state that you're in control. So right at that state, as it's happening, when you don't have the control, when you're in the alarm mode, this is a state, this is the anxiety state. And again, as it's happening and after it happened, when you look at it, when there is no logical sense, when there is no explanation, it doesn't make any sense what happened, because anything can trigger the anxiety if you have enough past events built up on top of each other. Anything can trigger anxiety. So the way amygdala works is really interesting. It doesn't only do the anxiety. It also works, it creates emotional, emotional memories. That's what it does. So within these emotional memories, it also includes love. Let's say you have your grandparent, one of your grandparents wears a certain perfume, right? Or they have a certain kind of smell. When you're around them, you feel that smell, and whatever you go through, it gets linked. So after that grandparent passes long time later, and you feel you just smell the same smell, it triggers it instantly to that, right? It happens in our daily life. So, or sometimes you hear a music and it instantly moves you to a past memory. So that's a pleasant one, but it's not always the case. So same way for the anxiety, it works exactly the same way. Let's say you've gone through an event, it was very traumatic. Like I had a client who had a almost near-death experience in a pool, drowning, right? And she was scared of water. You have to bathe, you have to drink water. It was so intense that she couldn't handle it. What are you going to do with that? It's not rational. It's an irrational fear. Doesn't have any logical explanation. Yes, an event happened, but it doesn't link it with drinking a glass of water. So what happens in this case is the trigger, the initial sensitizer event that we call the first event that happened, the trauma happened, it was so strong. And because that person didn't have any resources, didn't have any support, couldn't really talk about it, and couldn't release the trauma, it stayed with that person. So what happens is when we experience a trauma, anybody can experience a trauma, and trauma definition differs from person to person. It's about how we perceive it makes the trauma. So when that happens, we can actually lose ourselves completely and we get shut down, and this emotion gets stuck, suppressed, maybe because we couldn't look at it, depending on the circumstances. If the trauma hasn't been looked at within 24 hours of its happening, it gets suppressed. So there's all these suppressed emotions causes the stuck emotion. All the stuck emotions later on in life creates anxiety. So we don't want that. And in order to avoid that, we actually need to go back and look at trauma and in a safe environment, allow ourselves to produce the bodily reactions that we need to do. Like in wild animals, not in all of the pets, interesting enough, all the wild animals, when they go through fearful events, most of the time it's like they're going to be prey of somebody, some other animal, a big and a larger animal, faster animal, whatever. If they survive, right after survival, they shake. They shake the adrenaline off from their body completely. And once they shake, they go along with their life just normally, as if it never happened. That's the survival mechanism. And for us, because we're not in the prehistoric times anymore, what happens is we go around, it's like something happens and we are not in the right environment to express how we're feeling or do the body physical shake or swear or just yell or just scream out of scare, fright. We suppress it. And because we suppress it, if we don't get to express it in a safe environment, within the 24 hours, it gets suppressed. And then it leads to anxiety. So yes, what was the question again? Have I lost off the topic? Gone off the topic? Can you repeat the question, please?
No, I think it was answered enough. It's basically if you're not aware, then yeah, what do you do basically?
So because of all these reasons, it needs to be looked at, and we usually do that through regression, and there are many different methods. I do a combination of psychotherapy, hypnotherapy, some superconscious work, and we always go and find the original cause. Once this event has been found, then we rewire the brain. So it's like you look at the event, we don't change the event, but the way you perceive the event changes, and because the stuck emotion has been released, it doesn't cause any triggers anymore. It's really important to let go of the triggers, but you cannot consciously do it. So it needs to be worked at. So this is the part goes into the professional help. But the rest of the stuff, as I share here, anyone can do it and they all work too.
Okay, great. Thank you. And last question from Anil. Is regular meditation enough to reduce anxiety?
Very good question. Regular meditation is very helpful. Then again, being a seasoned meditator myself, I know that I have some clients who practice meditation and they feel really well. And yet again, they may find themselves in anxiety. So it's not directly addresses the anxiety because, again, it's about the emotional states. So I guess that depends on what kind of meditation you're doing. There are many different kinds. They all work. They all produce good results. To address that, maybe the closest one would be Vipassana meditation. In Goenka style, the 10 days, 3 stay in meditation, very helpful. So what happens there, I cannot explain it completely because I'm not allowed to, but what happens there is you actually stay with the emotion, whatever comes up, whatever rises up, you stay there and you just observe. So that's very helpful. But not in a short time. So it may work, but you may again spend your years on it. And regardless of that, it works to a degree, which is really beneficial. For anxiety, meditation is really good. For everyone, it's really good.
That's
to maintain our mental health, right?
It's great to hear. Yeah. No, thank you very much. I think that's all. We've got also the feedback now. I'm just going to stop sharing and.
Yep. And I will put the links in case someone's interested.
Yes, that would be fantastic. I'm launching the feedback now. If you could please have a look at our questions and go over them very quickly, briefly, that'd be fantastic. Thank you. Great. So yeah, I'm ending the call now. And share the screen. Çok teşekkür ederiz. Bence harika bir sunum oldu gerçekten. Katılan herkes çok faydalandı. Bunu YouTube kanalımıza da koyacağız izninizle. Ki daha geniş bir çevreyle paylaşabilelim. Daha fazla insan yararlanabilsin. Gerçekten harikaydı. Bizi diğer kanallarımızdan da izlemeye devam edebilirsiniz. E-mailimiz, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn accountlarımızdan. Sponsorlarımıza da teşekkür etmek istiyoruz. Digital Structural Walling, US Medical Center, Oyman Consulting, and International Education Agency, Migration and Education Services, Australia. I think that's about it. Thank you very much again for this fantastic presentation. Nefes nefese kalmayız umarım bundan sonraki interview'larımızda vesaire.
Teşekkürler. Benim için de keyifti. Anlatacak daha çok şey var ama kısıtlı zaman içinde ancak bu kadar.
Evet, çok güzeldi gerçekten. Çok sağ olun. O zaman yeni yıldaki yeni webinarlerimizde görüşmek üzere diyerek tekrar teşekkürler ve iyi seneler herkese.
Herkese mutlu yıllar. Çok teşekkürler.
Hoşçakalın. Sanırım sadece biz kaldık. Ekran şeyi durdurayım.